Well, the fall of the Assad regime has many Syrian refugees in Turkey, hoping they'll be able to return home soon. The UN's refugee agency says Turkey's registered around 3.2 million Syrians. Now, a day after rebels seized control of Damascus, Syrian refugees are lining up at border crossings in Turkey, like here in Bab al-Hawa. Well, our correspondent, Julia Hahn, is in the Turkish border town of Kilis. Welcome, Julia. What's happening there now?
Well, things are pretty calm now here at this Turkish border crossing, given that it's already later in the evening. But during the day, people were coming here, lining up with their belongings, wanting to return back home to Syria now that the Assad regime is gone. We've seen similar pictures from other border crossings in the area. Now, I was able to speak to two young men who said their relatives, their friends were about to cross. They've already been taken inside a building for the bureaucratic process, and they were going back tonight to Syria's second largest city, Aleppo. And the two young men also told me they want to do the same in about 1 or 2 months' time. Once they manage to sell some of their belongings here in Turkey, their cars, for example, they are also ready and hopeful to go back to Syria. Now, it's quite difficult to get hold of some reliable figures. How many people are we talking about? How many people do want to go back to Syria right now? Obviously, there are many emotions involved for people who want to see what's left of their old lives, their homes, people who have not seen their family members and friends in Syria for so many years. Many Syrians here in Turkey have been living here for more than a decade. There is an entire generation of Syrian children who were born here and who grew up here. But now there is hope, and there is a sense that things are safer for people in Syria. And that, in the end, is also good news for the Turkish government. Turkish President Erdogan has come under increasing pressure domestically to send back many of the 3 million refugees from Syria here in the country, with the Turkish economy doing poorly, with anti-immigrant sentiment on the rise. And now there is a situation where people are saying we want to go back voluntarily. So that is domestically for President Erdogan a big win, and it's good for his popularity ratings.
And tell us more about Turkey's role in this HTS-led offensive and what Ankara has been saying about it.
Well, you have to know that the Turkish government has long pushed for the ouster of Bashar Assad. They have long supported the opposition. The rebels, called the Syrian National Army, are the rebels that have fought this offensive alongside the main Islamist militant group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Still, the Turkish government says we haven't had anything to do with this offensive, but analysts that I have been speaking with here in the last day say such a lightning operation could not have happened without at least a green light from Ankara. And now that the Assad regime has fallen, the Turkish government says it wants to see a smooth transition of power in Syria. It wants the Syrian people to decide their future on their own. But observers here also agree that now that Assad is gone, Turkey is one of the big regional winners here from Assad's fall. The Turkish government has gained a lot of leverage in Syria and beyond, because now anyone who negotiates over Syria's political future would have to bring Ankara to the table and speak to Ankara as well. But I think it's also fair to say that the Turkish government, like so many here, were probably quite surprised by the sheer speed of the offensive and also the lack of a response by the Assad regime and its main allies, Iran and Russia.
And a brief word, Julia, about what's next for these former refugees who have crossed the border back into Syria.
Well, I have been speaking with contacts in Aleppo, the second largest city where many people from here are returning to, and they say that there are many, many newcomers arriving in the city, more than ever in the last decade or so. Apparently, the whole infrastructure situation is quite difficult. There are electricity cuts, there is no clean drinking water, and a lot of problems with Wi-Fi and internet access and communication in general. But people tell me that the security situation is quite relaxed. People are going to the local markets, and there is some sense of normalcy right now in Aleppo.
Okay, thank you, Julia. DW correspondent Julia Hahn at the Turkish-Syrian border.